All right, Avs lose to the Rangers in a shootout, 3-2, and Nathan MacKinnon's streak comes to an end. But should it? League should do the right thing and reverse that. Give him the assist. I'm mad. Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOP_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And subscribe to our subtext. Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, get your opinion on everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. All right, sir. The loss to Montreal, and I've said this stuff before, like, those don't bother me. It doesn't bother, like, you're going to lose games, right? You're going to lose games. It's a long season. You lose games. And for whatever reason, I don't get too upset when the Avs lose to a bad team. I kind of look at it as like, yeah, okay, yeah, would have loved to win that one, but whatever. I thought they played fine in that game. When you lose to the good teams, that's where I get frustrated, because those are the teams that I want to beat, because that's what you hang your hat on. And the Avalanche have had their fair share of beating good teams this year. I just want to win them all. Those are the ones I want to win, all of them. This one, great game. Fantastic game from start to this almost emulated the Edmonton game, where the first period was like a feeling out kind of period. I think there were like 6 shots on goal for each team. The Avalanche finished with over 40. So as the game went on, it got into that just back and forth game. Overall, great game. One of those that you hate to see it in a shootout, but okay, that's how it ends. Lots to discuss because a lot happened in this game, but give me your overall thoughts on the game and then we'll start from there.
That first period, it felt like it lasted 2 minutes. It just blew by. That first period was just gone. The second period, it felt like playoff hockey, and I loved the vibe and the flow. And hey, the Avalanche going up first, that's nice. Like, starting out with the lead, that's cool. And then going from there, like, it was I thought overall it was a pretty good game. The Avalanche, it was one of those, contrary to the Montreal game, the Avalanche played better. Like, that was like they looked like the better team out there. And the frustration mounted towards the end because you saw everything coming to an end and you just knew the Avalanche were the better team, and it was going to be one of those that they were going to walk away empty-handed, and that was the case.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just one of those games that you don't want to see end on a shootout. Like, you wish this was, playoff hockey where you just keep playing until someone scores. But that wasn't the case. I thought it was. I do. I think the Avalanche. Yeah, were they the better team? I think they were the better team, but not just head and shoulder. Like, there's such a chasm between the two teams. They both played extremely well. I thought the Avalanche definitely played well enough to win this game, and they had opportunities to do it. Igor Shesterkin is one of the best goalies in the league. You saw it firsthand. Why? He is a wall, and when he is dialed in, he's tough to get goals past. So the fact that you got 2 past him is I don't want to say, you want to score more than that. It doesn't matter who the goalie is. You're going up against another good one over the weekend, but the Avs feel like they are talented enough. Doesn't matter who's in net. And as great as he is, they're not, not trying to slight him or anything like that. I think the Avalanche are just confident in their abilities to be like, yeah, we can put more than 2 past anybody in this league. But Shesterkin was dialed in. So was Alexander Georgiev. He had a great game too. There, a lot of people had a good game on both sides of the aisle here with both of these teams. And it's just comes down to somebody's got to lose it. Of course, I mean, well, you get the point. So you get the loser point. and we'll get into kind of like the specific. If you're looking on YouTube, we're going to get to that hand pass thing, and we'll talk about the MacKinnon streak as well. But just from a hockey watching standpoint, great, entertaining game. Very good, entertaining game.
It was good to see Casey Middlestat really take that step up. Like, he looked like a presence out there, and we just mentioned Cale Makar in our last episode. He was
Mm.
very visible. He was very present, and he had a fantastic game, and I feel like defensively, it was a really good game, and it was one of those
It was.
you felt the absence of Nuke, that's for sure. Um,
Yeah.
it was one of
Yeah.
those
He would have made a difference. Definitely
it
would have
would've
made a difference.
it would have been a game changer to have him in there, and it was one of those, for every good, there's a bad, like walking away empty on the power play again. Those those games have to stop. In games like this, when you get those opportunities, when it's so close, you got to convert those power plays. So I loved the effort and the output from the team, but hey, they won the faceoff dot, not the critical ones.
Yeah.
Not like toward later in the game, especially in overtime, there was some rough faceoffs, and you'd love to win those, but like there was some good and there was some bad.
I don't think there was a ton of bad, really, man. I can't. The only bad is you didn't win the game.
Yeah.
So, you had opportunities in overtime. You had opportunities during, like, you had some good luck. You ended up with 40? How many shots on goal? 40. Where am I here? 40 exactly.
Yeah.
40 shots on goal. And when you had 6 after the first, 12 in the second, 17 in the third, you were dialed in. Like, as the game went on, you got your legs under you. You were kind of, I don't want to say in control of this game, because it was very back and forth, but every possession was that just, what was so valuable. Every possession. And anytime you went down the ice with the possession, you're like, man, if we score here, that is huge. And whenever the Rangers got the puck, went in the opposite direction, you're like, please stop them, because if they score, it, like, goals were few and far between, because you had 2 goalies that were just stopping everything. And, every single, that Middlestat goal, less than a minute to go in the period, you just knew the value of that was going to be so big. Like I said, we'll get to the challenge that the Avalanche failed, which I don't think they should have, but it's just, what can you say? Like, these are 2 heavyweight teams going at it. 2 heavyweight teams, and they put on display a great hockey game to watch.
And another great takeaway from the performance was some really good offensive zone transitions and really good setups getting out of the defensive zone. There were some really clean looks and the passing looked really, really good at times.
Mm.
Now, when it came to holding onto the puck, that's a different story. But that coming away, going into against a white hot Nashville team, like, these are the little things that you like and you can build on. But I like the offensive zone transitions, and I like the passing in this game.
I liked a lot of it. And the reason why I like so much of it is because you did it against an excellent team.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say the best team in the league. So to be able to get that many shots on net, they're a good defensive team. Now, they were out a couple guys, just like the Avalanche are out a few guys. But they're not going to make excuses for themselves, even though they're missing some big defensive players. They still got to go out and play, and they did.
Yep.
But I thought the Avs, they had good looks. Yeah, transitions were fine. It's just a frustrating thing, man. It's just a frustrating. These are the frustrating games that it's frustrating because you lost it, not how you played. Not how you played. I thought, and you didn't get a lot out of your fourth line. They brought Jean-Luc Foudy up, so he only had like 4 minutes and change of ice time. Cogliano just under 7, and Trennan had almost 10. But he's playing fine. I said it yesterday in about the Montreal game. You run that game back and play it again. You do that here, and I'm not saying you're not. Maybe you'll have a different outcome, but you'll probably have the same style of game, because these 2 teams are that good. Where, yeah, you get this as a Stanley Cup final. This is going 7 games. going 7 games, maybe all 7 are going into overtime. And you mentioned I'm just bringing up quickly like the power play thing. Yeah, it like they had one power play that just looked terrible. Another one that looked better, but again, the Rangers have a excellent penalty kill. I think it's number 4 in the league. So things were not going to come easy for you in this game, but there were moments for the Avalanche that they did. There were moments that they did, and they just couldn't convert because you have an all-world goalie in net for them. Bottom line.
Yeah, the last 2 losses are honestly, it's 2 different efforts, the same outcome. It's frustrating, and the Avalanche can get over this. It's just you hate the outcome because the Montreal game, it was very just blah. The Rangers game, it felt like I could turn that on right now and watch it again and enjoy it just as much, even knowing the outcome.
Right, yeah. All right, let's get our first break in here. The way I have the bullet points there, I'm going to flip them because we're talking about the game. So let's talk about the challenge that the Avalanche tried to have a goal overturned, and it was upheld. Was that the right call? We'll talk about that coming up next. All right, let's hear from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, which we call
the Nathan MacKinnon trilogy.
That is right. eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home the win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. And eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's talk about that goal that the Rangers scored. It was on a power play. Chris Kreider he's the one that got the puck in the net, but it did look like there was a shot from the point. I think that was from Adam Fox, and it hit. Who did it hit in front of the net? I don't have the goals in front of me here, but I can look that up in a second. Trocheck, right? Yeah. So it must have hit. Yeah,
it went off. I think it was off. Was it off Panarin?
It was off of Panarin. No, yeah, I don't. One of those two. Was it off Panarin?
I think it was off Panarin to Trocheck, and yeah.
Okay, so it looked like. I mean, it was redirected in front of the net, and it kind of was like flopping there for Kreider to put home, and he did. Avs looked at it, and it looked like it went off the glove of the Ranger player, and the Avs reviewed it, and it was not upheld. Well, the goal was upheld. The goal did not get overturned, which put the Avalanche back on a penalty, which they killed. But I looking back at it, like, it is a tough one, but there are a couple angles. It's one of those where there's a couple angles where it does look like it hit his hand, and then there's a couple angles where it doesn't. So I don't know, like, and this is where I wish we could have like refs being interviewed, because what did they go on? Was it just like not enough evidence, or was it no, it definitively did not? Because I can't say definitively it did not. So I have to think that they're upholding it because they don't have a clear shot of it actually hitting his glove. But you can see, like, as the puck is coming towards his hands, the glove moves just enough where you think like that hit the glove. And he's wearing Warrior gloves. It looks like it hit right on the lettering of the glove. Did it not? I mean, if you feel differently, we didn't really talk about this because we recorded right away. So if you feel differently, let me know, please.
Okay, I'll walk it back just a little bit. I didn't like the fact that Bednar challenged that in that moment. Did not sit well with me. And when it comes to, now this is hitting in the hands. This, like in soccer, if that happens and hits your hands, it's immediately dead. That's a handball.
Right.
In hockey, they're challenging a hand pass, and that motion, if there would have been a better case if it was one of those where the hand is coming out, like away from the body. That was more of a defensive in towards the body. Like,
From my understanding of the rule, that does not matter.
eh,
And here's the other part.
yeah,
I don't like it.
yeah,
Like if by the letter of the if it hit the back of his hand and went the way that it did and they scored and it's clear as day hit the back of his hand, they from my understanding, that's still a hand pass. If it hits your hand in any fashion that's directed towards somebody else and they play it, that's a hand pass. So again, I don't like that because yeah, like you look at that guy, he's not trying to deflect it. Why
yeah.
can you deflect it with any other part of your body, but for some reason the hand, like if you have an open hand and you shovel it to him, that's in my opinion a hand pass.
Hmm.
Again, I don't agree with like how it, but by the letter of the rules, seemed like it was to me.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
just and in that moment, you don't want for it to be that close of a game, come down to that moment and it you challenge and you hope you're relying on the understanding of the rule by and the nomenclature and the terminology determined by the referees in that moment. That's a lot to put on in a playoff type environment to put on a referee and immediately put yourself back on a penalty kill. It's
Mhm.
I didn't like that challenge at all. And then for it to come down the way it did, it's one of those you can't really get upset either way because again, it ask a different referee crew or send it to Toronto and see what they have to say about it. It didn't feel like
Well,
that.
that I'm almost, I mean, if you're reviewing it, I think it goes straight to Toronto. This isn't on the refs that were there, but the refs are talking to Toronto. So if they're interviewed after the game, they can say this is what they saw. Like you can get mad at us because Toronto makes that call, but this is what they saw, and they either saw definitively that it did not go off his hand, or the views that they had wasn't clear enough because that puck is moving fast and it's tough to slow it down where you can really like zoom in on that puck. But I don't know, man. I'm not saying like it's there's like some fix or something because I'll say this: the penalty. I think it was on Jimmy Vesey that he got called for an interference on Nathan MacKinnon. I thought that was bogus too.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that was a penalty. I think like, he nudged into him a little bit. Nathan MacKinnon, he didn't go down or anything, but they called that. And I don't like to see that in these games. You want these guys to really kind of be the ones that decide the game. Did that goal decide the game? It would have been 2-1 if everything else stayed the same. But the way that the Avs fought back, you like to see that. You like to see that part of it too. So I don't like it. It's. Do I fault Bednar for challenging it? I think it was close enough where you do it. I know it's about 50-50 where I'm seeing like some people are like, well, I wouldn't have challenged that at all. And other people are like, yeah, it seems like it did hit the glove. I don't fault him for giving it a shot.
Yeah, it's one of those it's just in the moment you had the momentum and I just wouldn't have risked it in that point because
Yeah.
it's like pulling the goalie with 5 minutes to go and you just when they score on you, you're like, well, what do you think is going to happen? It's one of those like whatever the call is, if it was upheld, good for you. You kind of keep your momentum, but if you lose it, it does so much more harm than good.
Yeah. And then the Nathan MacKinnon streak. Those for now have come to an end, but we're going to discuss this one too because this is maybe a little bit questionable, and people are maybe on one side or the other. I think your two hosts are on one side or the other of this as well. So we'll talk about that in a minute. All right. So Nathan MacKinnon was obviously on two very good streaks, just an overall games point streak, and that home point streak to start a season, which was at 35 games. There was a play. Devon Taves shoots the puck from the point from a pass from MacKinnon, and then it gets stopped by Shesterkin. Mikko Rantanen is right there, Johnny on the spot, and excuse me, he swipes at the puck, and it goes in the net. And immediately, like the call on the ice was he got an assist. That was the initial call, that Taves and MacKinnon got assists on that play. And you can see why, because it does. It looks like Mikko Rantanen, when he swipes at it, he's the one that's responsible for it going into the net. Not very long after, it got reversed to unassisted. And the reason behind that is they said that it was touched first by a Ranger player, which was who?
Lindgren.
Was it Lindgren? Okay. And again, this is another one that's upon further review when you're really dissecting this play and going frame by frame. Number one, does Mikko Rantanen touch it? Again, it's another thing where on one angle, doesn't look like he does. On another, maybe he just gets the toe of his stick on it, or his blade on it. Regardless, even if he doesn't, his stick is, like I said, his stick is sweeping towards the net. And Lindgren's puck it just gets in the way. It gets in the middle of the puck and Mikko Rantanen's stick, and that's what knocks it into the puck. That's not possession to me, Kyle. And that's why it would be unassisted, because somebody on the Rangers would have collected the puck, and if Mikko Rantanen just took it away from him and shot in the net, there's nobody to make the assist. That's unassisted. How do you call that unassisted? How do you call that the Rangers had possession of that puck? They did not. Mikko Rantanen is knocking it into the net. There just happens to be a stick in the way of him knocking it into the net. That happens, I don't want to say all the time, but fairly often. Are those always unassisted goals? I don't think so.
The reason it goes unassisted is because it goes on an own goal, and it goes back to the offensive player last touched.
But did he touch it? That's the other part of it.
No, and that's the thing. Lindgren did get contact with the puck, and he did deflect it in.
So so who get credited with the goal?
They gave it to Taser.
They gave it to Taves. Okay, all right.
So it's Taser unassisted from there, and Lindgren was the last touch. He was the one that sent it into the goal. So they go and send it back to Taser, and he's credited with the goal unassisted.
Right, which would make sense under the how that rule is written. I'm not sold that Mikko didn't touch that. And again, like, we're just watching, or doing this quickly after the game is over. There's a camera angle that's kind of like off to the side a little bit. Unless you saw one different, that is definitive that Lindgren does touch it.
Yeah, and both the ones that are put out on the Avalanche website and NHL website are both showing the same view, but Altitude had an additional camera that was very clear that Lindgren did get it. And like, Mikko did assist with the pushing of the stick, but it's the same principle in place of a deflection goal.
Right.
And that's what Lindgren did. He didn't intend to, but he deflected it in his own net. Yep. And so Lindgren he got solid contact with it, and then it negated Nathan MacKinnon continuing the point streak.
Which, you know what, man, like, if it end, or they could go back and look at this if they wanted to, and if they feel like Mikko did get a little bit of his stick on it, reverse it. Even if they don't, what he just accomplished is, we're not going to see this in a very, very long time. Unless he decides to do it again next year. But, and I think, did he need to get that record in order for him to get the Hart? Not at all. I think the fact that he made it to where he made it kind of catapults him up and keeps him afloat on top of the Hart conversation, because he's doing stuff like that. The fact that he didn't get the record doesn't automatically just now drop him below like Kucherov and McDavid for some reason. Dude's having a phenomenal season, and I think, when at the end of the year, when voters look at that stuff, they'd be like, wow, he accomplished something that we haven't seen in a very, very long time, and might not for another very long time.
And, honestly, I'll play devil's advocate here. I came to this realization about midway through the second period. I'm glad that pressure is off Nathan MacKinnon.
Like, I don't really think he had pressure. I don't think it bothered him that much. I think he just went out and played his game. Like, it's a different sport. It's different because it's so fast and things happen just like that. It's different, like in football or basketball or baseball. Definitely baseball, you get in your own head all the time. But in hockey, you just have to react. And I think because he plays that way and he plays so hard and he's always on the power play, so he's got a chance. I don't know how much it was weighing on him. I
It's
really don't.
well in
I'm
that
sure a
moment.
little bit.
In that moment, like the game was going on. It was a fantastic scoreless first. The second was fun. It was back and forth. But then the narrative on social media and in the game and in the broadcast, it was almost like talking about a shutout, but not talking about it. It was the same with Nathan MacKinnon's point streak. Every time Nathan would come on the ice, there's MacKinnon. It's just
Mhm.
that implied pressure of, and then it kind of took away. It wasn't magical. It was an added pressure that I like watching it was giving me anxiety. And I know it was in the back of Nathan MacKinnon's mind. And you heard Cale Makar's post game. He didn't even realize that the
Yeah.
streak was negated because of the own goal. And they
Mhm.
thought in their mind, oh, he's continuing. They keep on going because they're talking about it on the bench. So, like, I
Yeah.
know that's in the back of Nathan MacKinnon's mind, like, oh man, like looking up at the clock, it's not just we got to tie this up. It's I also got to keep this up. And it's a
Yeah.
little bit heavy. And like coming into the playoffs, fighting for positioning, the team that just beat you, by the way, they have a letter next to their name. That would be nice for Colorado to get. Like we're getting into scenario season, single digit games of the regular season. Like
Yeah.
that's a great record. He's going to be second. That's awesome. Now let's get back to building something new, a new streak, a new record, because you lost your point streak, the 19-point streak, the second
Yeah.
one, that's gone too. Start something new, build into the playoffs.
Yeah. Like I said, I do think he probably wanted that. And do I think he had pressure on? He probably puts pressure on himself every day anyway. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I do want to go and watch videos of this. Here's my other question to that though. Like, if I'm trying to think of a way to like phrase this, like with the fact that Miko is, like I said, he's shooting towards the net. Just because a stick gets in that way, it's not. I mean, I guess it's the same thing as if it goes off his someone else's blade on a skate blade. Just because Lindgren's not. If Lindgren was like trying to clear the puck and it goes in his own goal, obviously that's possession. He's putting it in his own net. The fact that Miko is trying to take a shot and Lindgren is not, and Lindgren's stick just happens to be there, is that still handled the same way? That's kind of what I want to get clarification on. Would make sense if it doesn't. It would make sense like no, the last thing to touch the puck, regardless of where, if it just an errant stick is just on the you guys just walking around like waving a stick, and that happens, he's not trying to make a play on that puck. I don't know. I'm trying to like rationalize this in
Yeah.
my head, and if it's just cut and dry, where it's like, no, he's the last puck to his last stick to touch it, that's on him. Then we don't have anything going here. If in fact he did touch it,
And see, like, I think we put too much gravity on this situation because of everything that's at stake with Nathan MacKinnon. But when this happens to like the Ducks, when a puck is shot at the goal and it kind of blocks off at a defender, and they do the whole like eye roll, throw their head back, like I can't believe I did that.
yeah,
Nobody questions that, and
hmm
then you don't question how things like a deflection. Oh, it went off him. It's not his goal at all. It was actually an own goal. Like those are just kind of laughed off. This one is getting like this one. It's the same letter of the law. It's Lindgren touched it. It goes back to last offensive player, and that's just it
yeah.
happens a million times.
If it ends, it ends, and you move on. So
Yep.
we'll see. I'm gonna go watch to make sure he actually didn't touch it, because I'm not convinced that he didn't. Miko Rantanen. So we'll see. Last thing we got to get to, that's our sound check, and this is where Colin and I pick one song each that best describes the most recent game. We put these songs on a playlist over on Spotify. Just search LOA Soundcheck, volume number 3. So what do you got for this one, sir? Avalanche and Rangers.
I think this is probably one of 3 songs I would ever pick by this band. I auditioned for a band playing this song.
Okay.
I'm leaving, I'm screaming, I'm dreaming. My heart's burst into fire from Bullet for My Valentine.
See, like I should listen to them more, because like The few songs I've heard from them, good songs.
Oh
But
yeah,
I've never gone like through their discography and just really like from beginning to end just knocked out like
their first 3 is where you want to be.
yeah. Things change after that or what? It
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
For not for the better, it
Nope.
seems. All right, what was the name of the song again?
Hearts Burst into Fire, probably one of the best intros in
Hmm.
rock and metal. That I like. That's what I auditioned with. It was that riff, and
Hmm.
it's amazing. It's a beautiful
Okay.
song.
All right. Well, I'm sticking with this Nathan MacKinnon point streak thing right now and holding out hope a little bit that it gets looked into and that Miko actually did get the tiniest sliver of it. Maybe there's a splinter sticking off of the end of his stick and that touched the puck last. And if it does, I hope the NHL changes it. And that's why I'm going with Deftones change in the House of Flies.
Nice.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Either way, man, like great game.
Yeah.
Phenomenal game. Very entertaining. And I said almost a carbon copy of 2 games. The Edmonton game where it just progressed, got, more open as the game went on. And almost the same time they played the Rangers in New
Yep.
York. You had the lead defensive game. I know the score was a little bit different, but last one went into overtime where the Rangers won it. This went into the shootout where the Rangers won it. So, sucks to be on the losing end of that, but just as a hockey fan, it was an enjoyable game to watch.
And you go play Nashville, no streaks, nothing to carry, no extra pressure. You get back to hockey and you start the winning streak at 1 against Nashville.
And speaking of Nashville, they lost to Arizona 8-4. 8-4. So that's their first outright loss in like 20 games.
It sounds like the Rockies.
No. They got a long way to go before they get to what was the final of that score?
It's like 16 though.
Was it? I gotta look
when
at
I changed the channel.
16-1.
Yeah.
14 runs they gave up in the 3rd inning alone. That is going to be a long season, Rocky fans. My God. All right. So yeah, that makes Saturday interesting for Avalanche. Want to get off of this 2-game losing streak that they got, and the Predators are fighting for playoff spots still. So they want to stay where they're at. That's going to be a fun game. Good, entertaining game again. All right. That'll wrap it up for today, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. For Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you Monday. I'm going to go watch videos of Miko hitting that puck into the net.